you mentioned Tony Robbins. I've known Tony for, I don't know, well, in my early 30s, I went to my first Unleash the Power Within. But when I moved to the United States, him and I became good friends and did a bunch of business together, traveled a whole bunch, and I spent a whole bunch of time with him on his plane. And you realize even at sort of that level, everyone's got a problem, right? Mm. Everyone's got a story. Everyone needs help in some sense. So, I think there's a movement in Australia and New Zealand about sort of reaching out and, just asking, I've forgotten what it was called, but I've seen some references to it about, just basically reaching out if you need help, because, everyone thinks everyone else is all right, right? Everyone's got a problem. Tony's got problems. Everyone's got problems, right? You think everyone's got the perfect life financially, emotionally with their partners and their kids. It's just all BS, right? They say never meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed. Once you get behind the screen, no matter who it is, I talk about in my book where, I spent a lot of summers, up until probably last year. I'd travel up to Malibu every weekend because I'd go up to Laird Hamilton's house up there. Because he's got a 25-meter pool, which is about 20 feet deep, and it's about probably 30 feet wide. It's a massive, big pool in his backyard, and throughout the week, and particularly on Saturdays, there'd be about maybe 15 to 20 guys and girls, came together at Laird's house, and this was movie directors, famous NBA players, everyone from John McEnroe to Barbra Streisand, and all these people would turn up, right? Just like you'd be sitting in the pool and suddenly Orlando Bloom would come in, right? It was awesome. It was just like a repository of all these people that would be pulled, and it didn't matter what you did, what you had done, because half the people there you don't know who they are until you find out who they are, but the rest obviously you know who you are. But everyone who came there were only invited and only got to stay and had longevity in that training environment if they had something to contribute to the group, right? Because it wasn't just a matter of just turning up, hanging out, doing some pool training, because that was the foundation of what became XPT training. You've probably seen that more and more now, which is the underwater training system, which Laird and his wife Gabby started with Brian McKenzie and Darren O'Lean. That was the sort of foundations of that training. But to my point, everyone who came there had something to contribute. So, if you came and you sucked from the group and you're a celebrity horde, then you wouldn't get invited back, right? But if you came and actually contributed into the process, it's not about just being, physically fit and involving yourself in. But there was a huge sort of Swedish sauna that sort of Laird has next to his pool. So, we'd do swim training, then we'd do, ice rotations in the ice bucket. We'd go into the sauna. Any one time there'd be, maybe 10 or 12 people in the sauna. And, once you got in the sauna, it was like one of those, Indian tribe sort of like truth barrels, right? Everyone's there in their boardies or, in their Speedos. And, all guards come down, right? So, you got to the point where you're talking with, significant, celebrities and public figures about their divorces and, problem they're having with, this and that and, the children. And it became, to me, it was the first sort of like therapeutic sort of, men and women's group that, I had been involved in. And, I say in my book, it was the reason why I drove, nearly 2 hours on a Saturday morning, from Newport Beach, California up to sort of Malibu, every weekend, because, from the point of view of my personal therapy and what I was getting sort of out of that group and the friendships that, I, grew and cultivated out of it, they were priceless. So it takes effort, right? It takes effort to maintain friendships. And the hardest thing to do, just given the nature of our lives and, how busy we think we all are, is to just pick up the phone or, have a real communication with someone outside of just texting or, commenting on their Instagram page or whatever it is. And I think, when you look at, this sort of interaction and how that's becoming more and more pervasive, and it's going to be, more and more, I think that's one of the key sort of benefits we're seeing out of this crisis at the moment.